Okay, so I'll just try to see if my screen is sharing. I'll check that on my phone right now to make sure that my screen is sharing, right? All right, so I have it displayed on the screen right now. Today we are taking a deep dive into the training matrix, and that is an important requirement for competence, right? So after we have our training plan, or we've identified the training needs, right? We come up with a training program, we develop a training plan, and we need to make sure that we are implementing all the training programs that we identify for each of the workers to ensure that the workers are competent. So this is how we maintain the competence of workers. So maintenance of the competence of workers, we are using the training matrix, and I'm gonna, demonstrate how we use this training matrix, right? So basically, the training matrix is a template that we use to schedule training needs, the courses, the programs to effectively implement the requirement of your management system, right? And take note that the training programs that we identify for the workers, they are relevant to meet the requirements of our own management system. Again, the training needs could also be based on the fact that there is a regulatory requirement for the job position. So you are looking to equally meet regulatory requirements. It could equally be an industry requirement. It could even be a client requirement. So the training needs basically is looking at all the programs that helps you to improve your management system or drive your management system, meet legal requirements, industry requirements, and client-specific requirements. So once you have all of these programs identified, it is important that we use them in our training matrix. Okay. So as far as the training matrix is concerned, looking at our template, we have a particular structure of this template. We have the table of contents, and that is just basically with regards to all our templates. You always find this section, and that is just for us to move across the workbook with ease, right? But this is actually the main focus area that you want to pay attention to. So this very section is about the fact that all the training programs that you've identified for your workers, you want to make sure that they are all populated in here, because we are going to implement these training programs and ensure that each worker is competent, right? So we need to provide a list of all the training programs that we have identified as per the training needs assessment that we did. And we need to determine the frequency for retraining. There are some programs that you have to train every 2 years. Some could be every quarter. It could be every month. It could be every 6 months. So we need to make sure that we determine the frequency for retraining. We need to do that right in here. And then over here too, we need to determine whether the training is mandatory. We need to provide all of these in there. That is a training mandatory? Is it a job requirement? Is it an industry requirement? Is it a client requirement? Is it an emergency requirement, right? So the training classification is something that you can actually provide yourself. You can, provide your own set of training classification, right? Now take note that these entries are coming from a drop-down list. So this drop-down list is all coming from here. Now the drop-down list is to make sure that all the entries that you're going to be making are the same all throughout. So you want to make sure the entries are standard, because once you don't use the drop-down list and you are typing, what it means is that you're going to be committing typos, and each item or each mistake that you make will be identified as a unique entry. So you're not going to have a report that is consistent for a particular parameter. So that's why we need to make sure that everything that we are selecting is from a drop-down list, right? So the source of the drop-down list is actually coming from here. So the frequency is all here. We can call it the frequency table. So if you are saying monthly, that means it's 30 days. Every 30 days, you need to carry out the training. Bi-monthly means that every 60 days. Quarterly means every 90 days. Twice yearly, every 180 days. Yearly means every 365 days, right? You can actually change the number of days for each of these frequencies. It's all up to you. Not applicable is basically infinite number of days. So we are denoting that with 9,999, which means that it's going to take forever to actually have to renew the training for whichever program it is, right? Assuming we say that this training program, let's say this defensive driving is, the frequency is not applicable. What it means is that the frequency is going to be, the number of days is going to be 9,999, and we're going to see how that plays out on our templates. So it means that there will never be the time for us to do any renewal or refresher training. But as far as 30 days is concerned, it means that every month we need to carry out a refresher training. So this is where we need to predefine all of these parameters in terms of the frequency and then the training classification. So take note that the training classification itself is also coming from here. So it means that you can update the mandatory, the job requirement, and all of that. So if I should type in anything here, right, what it means is that I can actually select it from the drop down list right here. So in case you exhaust this very table, what you can do is that you can actually unprotect the worksheets. So this sheet is not protected, right? So what we can do is that we can insert additional rows in here to extend the table, the range for the drop down list. All right, so this drop down list is actually capturing this range. If I go in here and I try to go to data validation, right, and I click on the drop down list, you see that the drop down list is actually covering this table. So if I drag this table all the way down, this will not change. It's still going to be this specific range. So the best practice is that in case you exhaust the table, don't try to drag it down. All right, so I'll just test it. If I come here and I go to data validation, so okay, for this one it has actually extended, but there are some that it wouldn't work, right? So all you need to do is just insert from the middle. So now that we've extended it, if I click the one down and I input anything here, I can actually select from the drop down list. Okay, so there are actually ways to go around it. You can actually insert rows within the table, or you can actually do that by dragging it down. But most of the time, if you drag down, the data validation range does not change dynamically. So you have to double check to make sure that the range is exactly what it is for the number of, the rows within the table that you want to capture. So this section is for the department. You can provide your long list of departments right in here, because we're going to need that in the template. So this section is what we call the qualification matrix, right? So once you do your training needs based on job positions, because we can do training needs based on job positions, right? So each of the job positions, which types of training programs are they supposed to take? So there's a standard, requirement that every job position, you should know the type of training programs you have to take. So HSE advisor would have to do defensive driving training, manual handling, fire safety, all of these. All right, so what we do here is that if you want to select the type of training for each job position, all you need to do is just select from the drop down list, right? So you can actually delete all these entries, and then we would just select from the drop down list that this HSE advisor is supposed to do this training, is supposed to do all of these training. Okay, this person is supposed to do this training. So basically, this section is for identifying the training programs for each job position, and that is actually the results of training needs assessment that you'll be doing. If you do your training needs assessment for each job position, you should know all the training programs. So in case you want to extend the table for capturing more job positions, all you need to do is just insert additional columns in there. And take note that the job titles are all coming from this section. So you can update this list so that you can select from the drop down list, right? So if I click on this cell, one thing you need to know is that this very table has headers, filters. It has filters. These are filters. You can actually filter, within the table. You can filter any item within the table. All right, so don't confuse a filter to a drop down list. The drop down list is the one that appears on the right side of the filter. All right, so the drop down list is the one that appears by the filter. So once you select the drop down list, you're going to have access to this very table to select the job title from, right? So what it means is that if I make another entry here and I click on this, I can select the latest entry that I put in there, right? So that means that I can change all the job titles in here and put in my own set of job titles, right? I can put in maybe productions manager or something, right? What it means is that I can select production manager from the drop down list. Okay, so let me just bring it back. Okay, so I'll just bring back the data because I don't want to tamper with it. Okay, so just bear in mind the qualification matrix is the results of the training needs assessment that you'll be doing by default to make sure that every job position, the training program they're supposed to take. It's very, very simple. Once you recruit someone who is a transport manager, you just know that this person is supposed to do this type of training. It's as simple as that. So that is why we call it the qualification matrix. Now, the training matrix, this is the main database. And this is where we are going to demonstrate that we are maintaining the competence of our workers. Each and every single worker that we have within the organization, we need to make sure that all these workers are in this database. So we want to make sure that we are identifying their training needs. We would determine that the training is needed for this person. We have to make sure we close the training. We need to capture the duration of the training. We need to input the date of the training. And based on the frequency for retraining, it's going to indicate the next training date. All right. So this is what we do for each and every employee. And at the end of the period, we are able to estimate a training score, which is the total, which is a score for the level of competence of our workforce, right? The training score is the level of competence of our workforce. So in order to demonstrate this, I will try to delete all of these entries, okay? Because by default, what it means is that once you grab these templates, you would have to clear the data. But before even I clear the data, I'll do that later on. Let's go straight to the dashboard. Okay, I'll demonstrate a few things to you guys in the course of this tutorial. So this is basically the fact that each employee will identify their training need by just indicating one. And once training has been carried out, we provide one. So we are just using numerical value, particularly one, to indicate training need and also to indicate that training has been carried out. These entries will be calculated. So we don't want to enter 2, we don't want to enter 3, it's simply 1, because we are counting the number of entries to be able to determine that we have planned training 10 times for our workers. So basically for 10 of our workers, and 9 of them have carried out the training. So basically you see the summations happening up here. 10 workers have been planned for training, 9 have been closed, 9 of them have completed their training. So basically we are trying to sum up all of these calculations based on these entries, and we are using that to estimate the training score as far as this very training topic is concerned. So those who have been planned for their training is summing up to 10. Those who have carried out the training is summing up to 10, and that is giving us a training score of 100% as far as this very program is concerned. So we're able to estimate training score for each of the the training programs to estimate that what is the percentage of workers who have carried out this training. So that is one way of doing the analysis. Again, based on the fact that each employee has been planned for training, for a lot of training programs, right? And the fact that we have closed those training for these employees, each employee will have a training score, which also shows that this person has achieved 93% of their training program. They've completed all of them except a few. So basically they've achieved 93%. So we are using this to estimate the level of compliance for the worker as far as completing their training program is concerned. And this equally can indicate the level of competence, because we are maintaining competence, and maintaining competence means that we've carried out the training and the workers have done the training. So we can reasonably justify that this worker is competent, all right, objectively using these scores, right? So we're able to estimate training score for each employee. We're able to estimate training score for the program itself, how many people have completed it, right? So when we go to the dashboard, okay, so when we go to the dashboard, let me see, where's the dashboard? Okay, on the dashboard, we're able to tell the number of workers within the training matrix, the number of workers that we plan training for. So these are the number of workers. They're summed up to 10 workers out of the 10 workers. So let me try to increase the size of this. All right. So basically, the number of workers within the matrix are 10. How many training topics have we planned for the workers? All right. So the number of training topics are these ones: defensive driving, manual handling. All of these are the training programs that we've planned for the workers, and we are actually counting them. So each of the training program is taking a number of columns, right? So each of these groups of columns are summing up to 15. So that means we've planned 15 programs for the workers. Okay, we can actually extend it further by just selecting from the drop down list like this, and automatically the frequency would show right in here and make the entries. But I'll be showing that after we are done. Okay, so basically we have planned 15 training programs for the workers, and then we have planned training 148 times. So that is basically the fact that how many plans have we made for each of the employees, how many times have we planned training for each of the employees. Basically, we are counting all of these entries, we are summing everything up. So the summation is actually giving us a total number of 148. Okay, and then we are looking at how many of these training programs have been completed, how many of these training needs have been closed. Basically, how many of these training needs have been closed. So with this one also, we are counting the section that has to do with closing the training programs. You need to close them. You need to close the training needs, all right? So you need to close them. And basically, we are summing everything up, and that is also giving us a total sum of 138. So right now, the planned and then the completed, that's what we use to estimate this very score. So basically 138 divided by 148 is giving us 93%. All right, so that is what we have here, 93% here, 93% here. The outstanding will be 68, 66.8 or 6.7. So it's basically the fact that we can round up, and then we are going to get exactly 93 and exactly maybe 7, right? 7%. So this is what this training matrix is all about. Basically, we have this dashboard to visualize the level of competence of our workforce. And these are the number of workers on the matrix, the programs we've planned, how many times have we planned training for the workers, how many have completed those trainings, and what is the score. And we're looking at each of these training programs. What is the score for each of the training programs? Take note that we are able to estimate the score right in here, that if we have identified this number of workers to do the training and they are summing up to 9, and all of them have carried out the training, then we have been able to achieve 100% score for this training program, assuming some of them did not do it, right? So I just delete these entries, and I delete all of these other ones also because they didn't do the training. Then we are going to get 67%, no more 100%. Okay, so what it means is that each employee, we are able to, each training program, we're able to estimate a score showing that all workers have completed these training programs. Okay, so we provided this extra dashboard just for those who want to, make a choice between the dashboards. So it's just a matter of choice. If you want this very first one, you can actually keep it and hide this very one. So it's just a matter of choice, right? So these are all the reports we use for the dashboard. All the reports we use for the dashboard. So this one is training programs. We're able to estimate have all the workers completed the training programs. Lead auditor course. Have all workers completed? 100% score shows that all workers have completed the training. Welding, all workers. Lead auditor, only 60% have completed the training. So this is trying to measure performance based on the training program. How many people have completed it, right? And then this section has to do with each employee's training score. This person has done all the training that we've planned for him. This person has done all the training program that we've planned for him, right? And this person has only achieved 80%. So that means that we need to close some of the training programs, some of the training needs that we've identified for this very employee. So this is how we measure performance of training, and we're able to estimate competence of workers based on the fact that whatever we plan for the worker, we'll be able to close it. Okay. And then we have these other reports. This one is basically accounting for the training hours for each of the training programs. How many hours have gone into training? How many hours have gone into training? So for those of you who are interested in collating training hours, you can actually do that. So defensive driving training, we've spent 7 hours. Welding safety, we spent 5 hours. So all of these are being collated from the training matrix. So those who are looking for hours, you want to account for training hours, you can actually do that from here. And then again, we can talk about the monthly training hours. So monthly training hours is equally important for you. You equally get the report in here. So the monthly training hours basically is the fact that you can select a range of a time frame. It has to be from January to December. It could be 2021, 2022, 2023. In fact, our database spans from, let's say, 2021, right? So if you're using this template, you're going to be entering current date, current year, right? So you can actually define your time frame from 2025 January to 2025 December, and all the hours are going to populate in this very table. So it means that we can tell the training hours that we've spent in the month of January, the month of February, the month of March, like that. And we can have this graph showing. Now take note that the drop down list for these dates are all coming from this very, this very table. So it means that you can actually change the time frame. For example, if your dates start from 2025 in the training matrix, you need to start from 2025. So January to December 2025, January to December 2026, January to December 2027, like that. If your date of training start from, let's say, 2023, you need to start from 2023. So we are just giving you room for you to make entries of 3 time frames or 3 years. So January to December, January to December, January to December. So 3 time frames, right? So you can select whichever time frame to see the months that have been, the hours that have been spent on each of these training within each of the months, right? So that is basically what this training matrix is all about. But let's get into the training matrix itself, and let's try to understand how to actually use this template. So let's bear in mind that every changes that we make to this template, once you refresh the workbook, everything will update. So you need to refresh the workbook for everything to update, right? So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these entries, and then we can start again. All right. So take note that the areas where you enter data, All right, so I'm just clearing the database to get ready to input our own data, right? Our own new set of data. So just bear in mind that the areas where I'm deleting are basically where you need to input data. The rest are based on calculation. That's why they delete by themselves, right? So next trailing date and the days due are all based on calculation. Now I'm going to be showing something very interesting. All right, so basically we've been able to get rid of all the entries, right? And then we have our list of employees. So we still have 15 number of employees within our database. And I think that we just want to keep these employees in there because we don't have time to make all of these new entries, right? So once we have cleared the data, what we need to do is just go to data tab on the menu and click on refresh all. So as we have refreshed the workbook, you will notice that all of these entries are gone, right? All of these reports are gone. But we have 10 employees and 10 training programs. Sorry, 15 training programs, right? So if I go to each of the matrix, you could see that these training programs are still in there. Okay, so I don't know if I should just get rid of them as well. Okay, or let me just make one change so that you see that it's updating from here as well, right? So I've gotten rid of at least 2 training programs. Okay, so if I go to the dashboard and I refresh all, you notice that it has changed from 15 to 13, right? So that means that if I get rid of all these entries, everything's going to vanish. Okay, so right now that we've built a database of all our workforce, and take note that this template can take a total of 400 workers. So if you have 400 workers and you want to track their training and maintain their competence, this is the best template to use. Again, this template accounts for a total of 100 training topics. So this is the maximum we can go. We've tested this template and we know that it can only take a maximum of 100. Anything beyond that is going to overload the template. All right, already we are trying to track 400 workers. So you can imagine this very spreadsheet is going to be a lot of data. So we cannot accommodate a lot more training programs. So this is a maximum of 100 training programs, a maximum of 400 workers. Okay, so how do we justify the fact that this person has to do training, right? So if the training is needed for this worker, we just have to indicate with 1. So 1 will be used to denote the fact that training must be done. All right, so training must be done. Now, if the training has been completed, all right, so if training must be done, okay, what it means is that you need to identify the training need for the person. And if the training has been done, all you need to do is just indicate with single 1, right? You need to enter 1 to denote that training has been done. So as far as this very training is concerned, they have achieved 100% training score because we plan only 1 training, right? Now we can be able to provide the duration of the training. So we spent 30 minutes for this training for the workers. All right, so training duration is 30 minutes. Now, what is the date of training? The date of training was today. Today is like 12, right? There's a little bit of lag in my template because it's like my computer is not fast enough, right? So basically, once you provide the date of training, the next training date is gonna populate automatically based on the frequency for retraining. It's gonna tell us the next training due days, right? I mean the due days for training. So we have 90 days more to go to do a refresher, and that is simply based on the fact that manual handling in our approved list, is quarterly. Now, assuming manual handling was yearly, when we go into our template, our matrix, this is going to update the next training dates. So there we have it, 365 days more to go for this very training. Okay, so let's go back to how it was. Let's stick to 90 days. All right, so 90 days, we have the next training date, which is 10th of June 2025. Today is 12 March. So we have exactly 90 days more to go. So if I want to know the status of training for the workers, right, that is what we have here. From the matrix, we can tell that this training is valid. These people have not done the training, right? It's valid because we have a system of estimating whether training is valid. If the due days is more than 60 days, that means the training is valid. If it's expiring soon, that means it's between 60 and 0. If it has expired, that means that, you know, the days due is now negative, right? And if it is blank, that means that the person was not planned for the training. If it is black, the person did not do the training. Okay, so all of these people have been planned for training, but they've not done the training, so it's there as not trained, and that's why we have it on this summary as not trained. Now, assuming that we did not plan training for them at all because they're not supposed to do the training, so I need to get rid of all of these entries. So if I go in here to the training summary, there's a little bit of lag in my templates, but you would get a, you know, what is that I'm talking about. So there we have it, right? So they have not been planned for the training at all, so it's there as blank, which means according to our legend right in here, they are not supposed to do the training in the first place, right? So all of these entries that we have here, you can get rid of them, and you can actually select each of these, you know, training programs in whichever logical, you know, whichever form that you want, whichever order that you want. You could start from the last one, or you can start from, you know, as they show in the drop down list. You can go chronologically from one to the other. Okay, so we can do manual handling to chemical to fire safety, or you can just jump to whichever one that you want to report on. So this section is actually for narrowing down the report. For example, we can just focus on manual handling, right? You can focus on manual handling alone. And we know the status of training for the workers, and we can actually insert a filter to be able to filter down. So that's something that you can do, right? So these are the entries in our matrix. Very, very simple entries. So I just refresh the workbook. Now, if I refresh the workbook, notice the manual handling, we've achieved 100%. 10 workers are on our matrix. We've planned training for 13 training topics, but we actually only planned training for only 3 of the workers for manual handling, and all of them have carried out their training. And as a result, we have a training score of 100% because that's what we've planned. Okay, now take note that assuming we have all of these entries in here, that these people did not do the training. Okay, so all of these people did not do the training because we planned training for them. We are not going to get 100% anymore. Once we refresh the workbook, we are going to get 30% because we plan training, we identified training needs for, you know, 10 employees. Only 3 of them have carried out the training. So all of these 10 employees, only 3 have done the training, and for that reason we have a score of 30%. So this is a simple logic within this template for one training program. And so we can extrapolate that to all of these training programs up to a total of 100 training topics. You are going to get a training score for each of these training programs. And we're going to estimate the total training score across board. And we're going to have all of these scores, generated for us. Okay. So that is basically what it is. Now let's try to validate these entries. Now take note that we have planned training for each of them. Some of them have done the training, some have not done the training, and for that reason we have it there as not trained. Okay, now the duration for retraining is quarterly, right? So let's assume that this person did the training maybe in December last year, right? December last year. All right, so December last year, this will show that the due days for training is now 0. All right, it's now 0. 12 December 2024, and the next training date is 12 March 2025. Today is 12 March, so it's 0, right? What's the situation on the summary? It's expiring soon. If it's expiring soon, that means that it is actually from 0 to 60. Okay, now let's try to go back again to, let's say, November, right? So that is there as overdue, 30 days overdue, right? If you go into the matrix, you see that is there as expired, right? So that is there as expired. So we can do expiring soon. We can do expired. This calculation is based on countdown. So every single day we are reducing the due days up until it get into the negative, and then we know that the training has expired. So imagine you have, okay, let me try to find a template. I don't know why it's gone. All right, so basically we are able to estimate that the due days can be valid, it can be expiring soon, it can be expired, and for that reason we need to do retraining, right? So imagine you have a large database of workers and you have planned training for all of them, and now you're able to tell which one is expiring soon, which one has expired, which ones are valid. You have all of this data right in here. So 400 workers populated all over here, where at a glance you can tell whose training has expired, whose training is valid, whose training is expiring soon, and quickly maintain their competence by doing the retraining. Okay, so I'll just bring back the data, because I always like to bring back the data, because that's dummy data that we put in work to provide, and we can only try to understand the template with dummy data. If there's no dummy data, you wouldn't really get a picture of how the dashboard populates. Okay, so we have our database back, right? So if you have our database back, what we need to do is that take note that we just have to refresh the workbook and everything will update, right? Once we refresh the workbook, everything will update. So that is basically what it is, right? And take note that once we come to the training summary, okay, so the training is valid for this person. This very section, training is valid, right? And that's exactly what we have here. And take note that you can actually narrow down the report. So you can literally just select defensive driving alone, and that's pretty much it. So you can just print this as report to communicate with your stakeholders, or you can take your time to populate each one of them. So if you have a large workforce, 400 workers at a glance. You can know the status of each employee right from here. You don't even have to waste time on the matrix because the matrix is going to be very broad. Just imagine 400 workers. How do you have a summary of the training status across the worksheet? All you need to just filter down. So we can filter by this, we can filter by this. So you can actually filter in chronological order, or you could just focus on what one is important. Just this very one is important to us. And that's exactly what we have here. This training is valid. Now take note that if I come here and I say that approved list, defensive driving is not, the frequency is not applicable. The frequency is that they have to do the training every month. Every month, right? So if I update that I have to do training every month, okay, let's say every, okay, let's stick to every month or every quarter. If I come to the training matrix, the quarter will change over here. All right, so just hold on. There's a bit of lag in my template. It's all based on my processor for the computer, right? But that is it right there. So defensive driving is quarterly. The training was done on the 1st of January 2021. Now quarterly means that from January we are doing the next training on April, but this is long overdue. So let's try to even be closer a little bit. Let's start with 2025, because these dummy data we input them as far back as 2021. So let's just be current a little, right? So I'm going to change all the date to 2025. So once we are in 2025, take note that the next 20 days is going to be April 2025. But take note, my computer has a bit of lag. All right, it's lagging a little bit, right? So there we have it. It has updated April 2025. But take note that today's date is 12th of March, right? So on the 12th of March, how many days more do we have to April 1st of April? We have 20 days more to go. Now let's go and see what happens on our matrix. Sorry, on our training summary. There we have it. It's there as expiring soon. So at a glance, we can tell that the training is expiring soon, right? So very, very simple. All right, so let's try to change the frequency to let's say every 6 months. That's twice yearly. Twice yearly is every 6 months, right? So it's going to update. As I did mention, my template, I didn't know, my computer is lagging a little bit, but let's see how that update. It's going to update. A lot of calculations are going on. Okay, so there we have it, right? Like magic, it has updated. 1st of January 2025. The next training date is 30th of June 2025. How many days more do we have? We have 110 days more. So if you come into the summary, there we have it. It's valid, right? Now take note that you can actually filter in any order that you want. So just imagine you have 400 workers going all the way down. Your work is made much easier. Very, very simple. So this is how you maintain competence of your workforce using the training matrix. Okay, and take note that all these changes, once you make these changes, all you need to do is just refresh the dashboard, refresh the workbook, and everything's going to update. So basically for all the training programs, we've closed them out. All of them, we've closed them out, except the fact that they've all expired across the work. All these, they've all expired. So we need to make sure that we carry out a refresher training. Okay, so that is basically what this template is all about. This is one of the best templates you ever find on the internet, because a lot of people have actually patronized this template. It does the job like magic. It does the job like magic, right? So in case you are interested in this template, all you need to do is just visit our website, right? All right, so in case you're interested in this template, all you need to do is just visit our website, www.SHEQXEL.com. okay, so all you need to do is just go all the way to the middle here. You're gonna find the training matrix right in here. Where is it? There we have it. The training matrix is right there. So just click on it. It opens a page. And take note that we take time to give you all the information. Everything that you see in the pictures are exactly what you find in the template. There is 100% transparency. So you can take your time, scroll through all of this, understand exactly what you are looking at. We provide a lot of information. You can read more, okay, to clearly understand. And then you can click download file. It takes you to the next page. And then you can actually, watch some videos. So we have a video right in there. You can actually scroll down and make a purchase, right? So that's pretty much what this template is all about, and that's how you can find it. This is actually one of the best templates you ever find on the internet. And take note that we perform customization services as well. So if you are interested in our template and you think that you want it adapted to your need, you can always do that. If you want to book a meeting, it's very, very simple. Just come to our website, the support page, click on book a meeting. You can always engage. We have a discussion. We look at your scope of work, review your template or the requirement that you want us to, work on, and we're gonna work on it within, just 24 hours or 48 hours. It depends on the scope of work. All right. So that brings our presentation to an end. All right, so that brings our presentation to an end. I just want to thank everybody who passed through, all of you who stay tuned to follow up with this presentation. I just want to thank you for the time that you allocated for this. And I'm going to see you again in another video tomorrow. So that's something we do every day. So I just want to check if there are any comments. This is something that we'll be doing every single day. So it doesn't really matter if you don't have anything to say. You can always ask your questions anytime when we come online again. Let's see. Thanks. Okay, someone actually said thanks a lot for the effort. So that is a very wonderful feedback. Thank you very much for engaging with our content. All right. So that is very much appreciated. Okay. So that means that your comments can actually come in here. So I could equally, show that. All right. So thank you once again. All the best. Stay safe and see you again in another video tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to look at training evaluation as an important part of establishing, demonstrating compliance with competence, right? Because when you carry out training, it is important that you do training evaluation. The workers must give a feedback, and that is all part of the plan, do, check, act cycle. It's a process. Training is a process. Once you carry the process, get feedback from the workers. How is the process going? This is quite different from audits. All right, so audits, it can be done to verify the effectiveness of training procedure. That is competence, training and awareness procedure. You can verify, and we are looking at whether we have developed a training plan, whether we've identified training needs for all the workers, what is the status of the training matrix, are we closing out all the training? That is audit questions, right? These are audits. But training as a process, you delivering the training, you need to evaluate the training that has been carried out by for the workers. So the workers must give feedback, and that is a questionnaire you're going to look at tomorrow. Okay, so that brings this presentation to an end. I'm going to see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.